So I'm Þröstur from EFLA Engineering. We are probably the least expected candidate to be here today, a civil engineering company. But we do everything from we scan things from Cornish hen thighs to volcanoes, hydroelectric dams, everything. Digital twins are a growing product of ours. We started as me in 2017. Now we're 8 in our team. That's in 6 years. So a little bit about me. As you can, this is me at my happiest, and this is me as a digital twin of me in EVE Online in 2011. We had a digital twin avatar creator then. It didn't take off as well as we hoped to, but we got it a little bit off the ground. So that's just a lot about my education. I went to Florida to study animation, went to Copenhagen to study Medialogy. Does anybody here know what Medialogy is? It's basically a marriage of art and engineering. So a lot of computer vision, all this kind of stuff. Then I joined EFLA in 2017 and got an Epic Mega Grant in 2020. And I promote digital twins in any shape and form as a part of my work, both at EFLA and with other companies. And my interest in photogrammetry and digital twins started around 2006 when I found out about this technology being developed inside institutes like Caltech, MIT, all this stuff. It required computers the size of Gula, the downtown area, and now we have them in here, in this little device, and there's like 8 tabs on this thing that do exactly the same thing, and they all do it to a varying degree of quality. But going to the digital statues project, or stafrænar styttur, it is basically a collaborative project between EFLA and the Einar Jónsson Sculpture Museum. So how many of you have been in the Einar Jónsson Museum this year? This year? Yeah. In your life? Yeah. And you all, I assume that most of you identify with the feeling that you get when you go in there. It's a very different type of museum. It's filled with stories. It's very visual. It's very hard to reach if you can't walk. All that kind of stuff. And especially like if you're from out of town, it's the one thing that you forget to visit but wish you had when you come to Reykjavik. Because it's right next to Hallgrímskirkja. Why wouldn't you go there? But it was when I was talking to Almadís, this is just a little bit of backstory. When the museum was actually run by Einar Jónsson and his wife, there was a sign saying "No children allowed." So it was a very forbidding, very unwelcoming place. But so this project, it started as an accident basically. Well, it started as a scan project that I did without asking permission. And then I went in there. But yeah, so I'm going off course a little bit. But so it started with me visiting the garden where the statues and sculptures were all accessible, and I had just gotten this idea from attending a conference in 2019 that starting to scan everything to my family's displeasure. I gotta stop and scan this. Wait for me. So I was visiting Einar Jónsson Museum in the in the autumn break at my children's school. So I went up to the person working the front desk and said, "Hey, I've been doing this kind of stuff with the museums out in the sculptures in the back. Would you guys like to see them?" She looked like she had seen a ghost or something. It's like, "Oh my God, I gotta call Alma." And so she called Almadís, and things moved forward, and we decided to apply for a grant by the Ministry of Education at the time. They've changed names and morphed into something else since then. But so we got a grant that allowed us to scan a large number of the sculptures and put them in a 3D viewer. We went with Sketchfab as a platform for this. And so the idea of the project was to make all the sculptures that we could. We did set a modest amount for the first part. It was like 10, something like that. so that people from everywhere could see them, and not just people that were in the museum. And also, we want to have accessibility. And fortunately for us, people weren't allowed to go into the museums because of COVID, so we had more people coming in through the digital port. And so our purpose was also that we wanted to prove this technology could work on a larger scale. And so we got a follow-up grant to scan the entire museum. Everything inside the museum itself, all the environment. And also, it was convenient that this year is the 100th anniversary of the museum. It's the first, it's the oldest continuously running publicly available museum in Iceland. So there's many things to celebrate. We also, one of the things that we are still working on a little bit is the study materials to present to kids, what is called K10, I guess everywhere else it's K12. So it's a way to get them to study art and think about the stories being told in the sculptures. And has anyone here seen the Sketchfab models? 1, 2. Okay, then 4. Okay, then we will have a bit of a look. You don't mind. Let's see. Yeah. So I forgot to mention one. We also got a sort of a follow-up grant from fyrir, alla, which is a separate entity, which allowed us to do a little bit more of the promotional stuff. So it was Barnamenningarsjóður and fyrir, alla. But hope you don't mind going. So what we did for this, which is a pro tip for everybody here that's working in a non-profit, if you want to use, just to make sure I don't get paid for saying this, I'm not promoting Sketchfab as a platform or anything like that, but they do have a non-profit, oh, you don't see the, oh, how do I have the viewer on this monitor, how do I switch it to the big one? We just, oh, there you go, all right, let's see. There you go. Okay, then I won't see it anyway. But yeah, so what you can do if you are running a non-profit, you can apply for a non-profit. I think it's an ultra or an enterprise version of Sketchfab, which allows you to run AR in this. I have just a personal pro version, and it will not let me run AR on my phone. So if you need AR, then you can apply for a non-profit. So this is then, it's a very iconic statue in the center of the sculpture garden, and this is all from an iPhone. So this is all, this is not like, because those of you that have been here long enough in Iceland know that the weather will change in 15 minutes, so you can't set up elaborate 6-hour shoots on sculptures and stuff like that. My favorite method is using a drone for this, because it allows to, you don't have to bring ladders and stuff like that. But as you can see, it's fairly detailed. And because it's running on Sketchfab, it can't really run, like we have a 200 million polygon version of this. We were thinking about running a 2 billion polygon version in the winter, but it's not really the best way to present to school children. But it also, the beautiful thing about running this on a, can you go back to the presentation? Oh, there we go again. Yeah, so the cool thing about having this on Sketchfab is that we are not limited by municipality IT restrictions. That's one of the things that we ran into very early, was that we were presenting this at a teacher conference, and the first thing they said was, Reykjavik IT will not allow us to install Sketchfab as an app on a phone or on children's tablets. And another thing that we ran into was that we had, is Þröstur here? Yep, there he is. So he had already done a lot of readings about the Einar Jónsson sculptures as a part of a different project. So we had this elaborate plan to have Sigurð's voice talking about the Einar Jónsson sculptures. We had it running under every applicable sculpture, and then Sketchfab decided, oh, we can't have audio anymore because somebody's using copyrighted materials on separate projects. And so they just, blank slate, like they just threw everybody's audio off. So we were, that's one of the things that we are still kind of missing, is that we have, we want to have it in Icelandic, English, German, Polish, Filipino, Vietnamese, whatever. But it can't have everything, I guess. But so in the real world, we do have, the digital statues has very, real applications, because we are also assisting the Listas of Reykjavík with inspecting the statues. For example, with Jón Sigurðsson, we discovered a noose around Jón Sigurðsson's neck in Austurvöllur. It was 2 years ago. Somebody had put a string around his neck. That was removed. It was kind of ironic. I was Jeanette, is that her name? Yeah. So I was with Jeanette, the person that's taking care of most of the statues. We were flying around Jón Sigurðsson. At the exact same time, a homeless man decided to fire off a bomb, like kind of like, it was almost like a phosphorus bomb, because it was just churning away at the base of Jón Sigurðsson. So we were just standing there while I was flying, and somebody was, like, we were documenting vandalism. So it was, but then I just took out my phone and documented the vandalism, and then she had that fully, in her hands. Let's see. Yeah. So this is the sort of the real world applications that we have, is that we can preserve them in many stages, like for example, the statues in front of the sculptures in front of the Prime Minister. We weren't able to document the conditions of those sculptures before Jeanette, put up all the scaffolding and fixed them. But then I went in after she had fixed them, and we documented their condition after the restorations. So we were hoping to do more of that, but as you all know, I guess more than anybody, is that money is very tight in this field, and it was decided that photographs will suffice. So that's a constant battle, I guess. Even for when you're a civil engineering company, we do have budgets to consider. The status of digital twins in other fields is that, for example, I was at a conference 2 weeks ago, 30 degrees Celsius in New Orleans, very nice. Digital twins were everywhere. Everybody's doing digital twins. We had a lot of interest from companies that have come to Iceland, like, we have so much data that we can't, process. How do we do it? And then I said, we can process data. And so everybody is really interested in using it, and kit bashing. Are you familiar with the word kit bashing? So it's basically taking items and throwing them together like you do in computer games. You take familiar settings and make new ones, and so that's what a lot of like you see here down at the bottom. Star Wars has been doing it quite a bit with Icelandic locations. We are about to do a project that will kind of make EFLA galactic engineering, because we've been twice approached by NASA and the European Space Agency to do digital analogs of the Moon and Mars in Iceland, and I was there. Sorry.
About 5 minutes.
Yeah. I'm pretty much actually done with this. Let's see. That's how we're doing it. Yeah. So basically, I know a lot of this may not be interesting to heritage preservation, but we are doing a lot of using digital twins for monitoring of construction infrastructure, all this stuff. Also just digital twin systems, which is not like a physical thing, but more like a monitoring system of fire hazards, water, power, pressure, all this kind of stuff. We also monitor volcanoes. We go into the highlands to monitor rivers, hydroelectric dams. We monitor nobody wants to hear it, but the crawling of the water dams in the highlands. They are like the glaciers, they move a little bit every year. We are using thermal cameras to monitor that because the water leaking from underneath the dams is colder than, of course, the area around it, if you could believe that. But what I'm most excited about right now is using the little devices that we all have. Like if you have an iPhone 12 Pro or later, then you have what's called LiDAR on your phone. And with a simple app, you can capture, like you can see here, this is a piece of rock at Gullfoss. It looks like this in real life. This is actually also a 3D model of it. But this is what it looks like in ZBrush. And I was in Full Sail, my old school. I was doing a presentation similar to this one. And I showed them this rock and another one in the next slide. And I asked them, how long would it take you to model this? And they just said, oh, it's a full day. It took me 3 minutes. And they just, everybody, the ones that didn't have an iPhone, they wanted to. I also don't get money from Apple to say this, but it has sped up a lot of workflows, especially if you're working with areas that are not familiar to most people. I was going to run a few models of larger areas. If do we have a couple of minutes? Yeah. Okay, so I think we will see, for example, here. Let's just copy. Sorry, it's not opening up the side. Those are kind of.
Keep the cookie there on the bottom.
Yeah, just refuse all. Let's just go into the. Let's see. We can just. There we go. Okay, so this is another viewer that we use quite a bit. It's called Mira. It runs 2 billion polygons, hundreds of gigapixels, and it's all in real time. So, for example, here we are working on a digital twin, and this is insane. This is 73 million polygons, 9.94 gigapixels. This is for an infrastructure project that we are working on. I can't show you the rest of it because you will go insane when you see it. No, but we have authorization from Isavia to fly near airports and stuff like that. But this is Hallgrímskirkja, and as you can see, we can go pretty close. And let's see, here we go. It was 1:15. This is also a very natural state of Hallgrímskirkja because I don't think any of us here in here have ever seen Hallgrímskirkja without any kind of scaffolding. I think my great-grandfather worked on it, and there was scaffolding then. And then I think my grandfather worked on it, and there was scaffolding then. And then my father worked on it, and there was scaffolding then. And this is my work on it, and there was scaffolding. And we can also see, we also use this for concrete damage inspection. We use it for dam inspections and stuff like that. But you can see it's pretty detailed. We've been to Iceland. This was an interesting day to be flying a drone because the volcano was going on and the helicopters were there every 3 minutes, and people were complaining about the drone. So it was an interesting. But yeah, so the point of this project was to look at visual impact studies. Because when we do visual impact studies, we usually take a photograph and try to fit a 3D model into it, and then we try to tell people, oh, you won't see it. But it always happens that these impact studies are 50 kilometers away, 20 kilometers, something like that, and you can't really realistically expect somebody to fit a 3D model with a good, distortion or stuff like that. But so we decided to let people, and this is it's going to be presented soon, I think, hopefully, that we are going to allow people to be on a digital twin at human level, and they can look in the direction that the project is, and they can just make it up for themselves, because the windmills will be moving. It will all be in run in Unreal Engine, so it's going to be fantastic. Let's see, maybe go see something else here. Just finally a place that I think none of us here have been to. We can also go. This is a heritage site that has been spoiled by one person that had tomatoes. Have you heard about the tomatoes in Switzerland? Somebody didn't bother taking all the trash, and somewhere in Switzerland there is a tomato plant. It was not carried by birds. So this is Switzerland, and it looks. This is not data from us. This is from Barnamenningarsjóður, but they gave us the data, and we put it all into a GPS location. And we also have a digital twin of all of Iceland, but it's in varying resolution. It's from 10-meter height lines down to 1.5 centimeter. So if you, just a little sales pitch, if you need really good looking data, come to us. we have all the data. But yeah, so this is a little side note on the digital statues, but I can talk about this afterwards if you want. But if you have questions now, I can also answer them. If I have, do I have maybe a minute?
Yes.
Okay, I can show you, because we got permission to use it for a separate project, which was the Epic Mega Grants project. And let's see, there we go. Yeah, let's see, this is interesting to run like this. My preferred engine is Unreal, and also Twinmotion. Twinmotion is a shell that runs on Unreal, and it is a. What this is? Okay. Yeah, it's basically it was thought of as a visualization, architectural visualization software, but it's running. We are running it as basically an all engine. Let's see. Sorry, just have to. Yeah, there we go.
Guaranteed.
So the story behind this project was that just before COVID hit, I applied for a mega grant from Epic that says you make it in Unreal, and we don't care what you take the money. Take this money, make something in Unreal, and show it to us whenever you finish. So I started. Can you turn the lights down a little bit? So the original idea was to destroy 2 farms in Iceland. But then, I was halfway through that project using dynamics and everything in Unreal to destroy these historical farms. And then when COVID was on its way, I was just tired of destroying things. So I decided, what if I show something, peaceful and beautiful? And then I contacted my contact at Epic and said, can I take my old project? I'm halfway through and just throw it out the window and do something like this. And he was like, absolutely. And as long as you still have money to do the project, that's fine. So I did that. And I got permission from the museum to use the scans that we already did. And we are showing basically the passing of time in same camera shots. And they were very happy with the results. It's being used to promote the software, and also just to promote us, and hopefully the Einar Jónsson Sculpture Museum in the same sort of í einni andrá, sem það ekki? Sömu andrá. And there you can see this passing of time a little bit more by seeing the trees grow and the people also, but they don't really grow, they just sort of appear bigger. But yeah, so this is all running on Unreal, but I didn't have to code a single thing. There's a lot of limitations to Twinmotion, but they are improving it with every iteration. It's very easy. I compare Twinmotion to, like if you take Unreal Engine and Twinmotion, it's like comparing technical Lego and Playmobil. So it's very fast results with very limited options. But for most of my work, this is sufficient. And then we don't need to see it. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, we can go into this after. Yeah. All right. Thank you for.
Thank you.